This is a zipper. It's a very simple yet ingenious BDSM toy that is so easy to make. If you want to learn how, stick around and I'll show you. Let's take a look at the supplies that we're going to need for our Kinky zipper project. The first thing you're going to need is a pair of scissors. They don't have to be safety scissors. They can be pretty much anything, but this is what I happen to have in my dungeon, so I use those. You are going to need some string. Now I've got two options for two different styles of zipper, and I'm going to show you how to do both. So this is the first bit of string that I have, and as you can see, it's just thin black string. It's 100% cotton. It's pretty strong, but I'm pretty sure, there we go, I can break it if I pull on it really hard. So that's sort of a downside of it, but I should be able to use it for zippers without an issue. So you may want something a little tougher than this, but this is just what I happen to have around in my dungeon because I use this to make torches for fire play. So the other type of string that I have is this thin white poly rope, and you can see it's just a little braided rope. I use this in my dungeon for CBT, so conch and ball bondage and all that fun stuff. So this is something else that I have around. It is a little bit thicker, so you do have to use it for a different style of zipper. And we'll show you how to do both of those today. And of course, you will need clothes pegs for this project. So these are the type that I use. And let's see, we can get a nice close up there. They are bamboo clothespins. You can see that I've picked them up at the dollar store. They cost me $1.50 for a package of 24. The reason that I like these is, as you can see here on the bottom, the advertising, they are natural, eco-friendly, and strong. I found that all of those claims are actually true. They're made of bamboo, which is renewable, much more so than wood is. They're also quite strong, so you can take a look and see these guys. They're pretty solid, and you can tell when you're holding it that it is a pretty solid clothes peg. With some of the really cheap wooden ones, you can get like, 50 for $1 or whatever. I find that they tend to slide to the side like that, and then they'll eventually just kind of pop off and snap. The mechanism here, the little wire metal thing, spring, is not strong enough to hold these guys together properly. So again, I just like using the bamboo clothes peg. I find that they're a much, much better piece of material to use. So before we get started on building our BDSM zippers, we're going to talk a little bit about the safety using them. Now, there's not a lot to this. It's a pretty simple thing to do, but you just need to be aware that you cannot use it on like really delicate skin. So what I'm talking about is like mucous membrane type skin, so genitals, just don't. And if somebody has delicate skin for whatever reason, so generally if they are, an older person where the collagen has, depleted in the skin, so the skin gets really quite thin and easily could be torn. You just want to avoid using this type of toy on that. And any other delicate skin. Of course, broken skin, please do not use these on broken skin. That would not be appropriate and you'll cause more damage. The other thing is that these are reusable because, it's a clothes peg, but I would really only use it on one person. So I would make a zipper and I would use it on, person A. And if I wanted to play with person A again, I would put them away. I put them in a little baggie. I would give it to person A and be like, this is, a tool or a toy just for your body. If it was somebody that I was never going to play with again, then I would throw the clothespins out because I can't really clean them. They're porous and you never know, like there's oils and whatever on the skin, and you just don't want to necessarily transfer that from one person to another. So, and again, these are really, really cheap, and they are a little more renewable than wooden ones. So keep that in mind. Throw them out if you're not going to use them again. Don't use them on multiple people. It's just, I think it starts to get a little gross after a while. So anyways, the last thing is something that I talked about in my nipple clamp video, and I'll link that in the corner here if you want to take a look at that video. But you have to remember that clamps, when you put them on skin, there's going to be, you know, some intensity of sensation, probably a bit of pain, whatever. And then that's going to very quickly dissipate. You're not going to feel it after a minute or two. However, when you pull it off, if it's been on long enough, usually about 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to hurt a lot more coming off than it ever did going on. So you really want to keep that in mind and keep the bottom's, you know, pain threshold and ability to deal with pain in mind when you're doing this. So if you leave it on for only a minute or two, I mean, it's going to hurt a little bit coming off. It's not going to be so bad. If you put it on and leave it on for like 10 minutes, then it's going to hurt coming off. And just for those of you who are wondering, I'm sticking it on this part of my hand. If you happen to be a top and you're wondering how clamps or any of this kind of stuff feels, this part of the hand is really quite sensitive. So you can get a general idea of the intensity of a toy by putting it on this part of your hand. So if you've never done this before, I would highly suggest making your zipper, sticking at least one of the clothes pegs on this part of your hand, waiting for 10 minutes, and then pull it off and see how it feels. You'll experience, first of all, that sensation of it hurting a lot more coming off than going on, and you'll also kind of get a better idea of what you're doing to somebody with a zipper. Now, of course, tops, sadists, dominants, whatever you identify as, we're not going to really understand what goes through the mind of a bottom or a masochist or any of that sort of thing, unless you happen to be a switch, of course. But we can at least have an understanding of the sensations that we're delivering. All right, so to make our zippers, let's start with the thicker poly rope, and I don't even need the clothes pegs just yet. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little length of this and we're going to start tying some knots in it. Just simple overhand knots, nothing fancy. So what I want to do is tie 2 knots that are fairly close together. Now I need to make sure that I've left enough room that the clothes peg can fit in between those, but this is how we're going to secure the clothes peg on this portion of the rope. So we're just going to do those overhand knots quickly, and I'm not showing you exactly how I'm doing this because I'm sure you guys can tie a simple knot in a rope. So again, there we go. So now I've got 2 knots, space, 2 knots, space, 2 knots. And when I put the clothes peg on, we're going to be going for this second small hole in the wood. And we're just going to put it on like that. Really, really simple. And we'll do that in all 3 spaces, maybe if I kind of turn it sideways. So I'm trying to give you guys the best view possible. But you can see that I've put it through that hole, and there we go, all 3, and they're going to twist around and go upside down and whatever on the string. It's not a big deal, and if you have, you know, a little extra space, again, it's not a big deal. It's just to generally anchor these guys. So that is the first style, and I will show you this lovely little contraption in action in just a moment, but we'll tie the other one next. So when I use this thinner string, I can't call this rope, it's certainly not rope, what we're going to be doing is going through the actual spring. So these are going to be a little more secure on the rope. When we have these guys, you have to be careful when you're putting them on because obviously they come right off. The advantage to this, of course, is I can just, you know, have my string. I can have 3, I can have 20 spaces for clothes pegs, it doesn't matter. And if I need to replace a clothes peg because I'm playing with a different partner, or if I'm, you know, this one gets dirty or broken or whatever, I can just take this one off, toss it out, get a fresh one, and put it on. So that is the advantage to this style. The other style, the second style that I'm going to tie, you won't be able to easily get the pegs off. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. However, this string is really small, so we're probably going to have to tie multiple knots in the same spot. I'm sorry that you guys can't really see this. It's a very thin string, and I'm trying to get this knot to land on top of the other one so that I get a bigger knot. I know that's hard to see, and I may even need 3 in there. So let's try. There we go. That didn't quite work out. Now I'll do a 4th one. So yeah, don't worry if it's not perfect. There we go. Now we've got a nice big one. So you'll notice that I didn't start right at the end. I've started kind of inwards. That's because I'm going to be working towards the end here. And because I broke that string, it just needs to be snipped. Here's where your scissors come in handy. So snip that, and then I'm going to thread that through the metal spring and down to here. So now this is going to stay there. I just need to tie another couple of knots to secure it on this side. Woo! This is difficult to tie while you're hanging it. So you can see that I have a knot that ended up here instead of closer there. I'll just use that for the next clothes peg, and I will try to tie this much closer. So oh man, I just can't get the knot in the right spot. So now I have, we can see this, knots on both sides, and the clothes peg is going to stay where I've put it. Now, I'm not going to make you guys watch this, but I'm going to do this a bunch more times so that I have 3 clothes pegs on this piece of rope. So I finally got all of this tied. Now the last thing that I need to do, grab my scissors again and cut the string so that this is no longer attached to my big ball of string. I just have these. Now I've just done small ones with 3 clothespins. Like I said, you could use the whole pack, do 24, and one of my knots is not the most secure thing, and it's slid around. That's okay. This is an art, not a science. Fun little thing if you want to play around and really torture your bottom and, you know, save yourself some headaches of tying knots in little strings. Make your bottom watch the video and make the zipper that's going to be used on them. Just another little thought here. I know that a lot of people like to use plastic clothes pegs when they're doing as like clamps and when they're doing play. The thing to remember with those is that they often have teeth in this part of the clothes peg to give them a better grip on things. So that means that they will hold onto the skin more. Now you do run a higher risk of tearing the skin if you use those for a zipper, so I don't recommend plastic clothes pegs. And again, pretty much any strong string will do. It needs to be thin, but not so thin that it will break easily. And tie 2 clothespins, tie 20 clothespins, 50 clothespins if you're really, really mean. Just have at it, do as much or as little as you want, and it's really quite simple. So let's take a look at this in action. Okay, So I've just kind of put the clothes pegs on my hand like so. This is really just for demonstration purposes. When you're actually playing, you probably are not going to want to use this part of the hand. You're going to want to put the clothes pegs on the chest or the breasts, the sides, the back, wherever you want. Again, I would avoid genitals because the skin there is a lot more delicate and you're going to run the risk of tearing the skin. But get creative, have some fun. I would not put them on the face either, just because, again, of that more delicate skin. Plus, if you end up with any bruising, that might be hard to explain to, going to work the next day with like weird bruises on your face or anything like that. And of course, the longer that you leave clothes pegs on the skin or any clamp, the more intense it's going to feel when they come off. Now, I've had these on for just a few minutes while I've been talking, so they're not going to hurt too much coming off. They're probably not going to feel great though either. So this is going to be one of those, just like a Band-Aid, you got to rip it off quick. So the way you use a zipper is you grab one of the ends and then you just pull. So let's go. And again, that didn't hurt all that much. You can see one of my clothespins has now twisted around in the string, easy enough to fix by simply letting it off there. And this with the poly rope or this one with the black string are going to work exactly the same way. I just had to grab this one first because my clothes pegs are a little more stable on it. I didn't take as much time as I probably should have with my black string one, but you get the general idea. And you can imagine how intense this is going to feel if you've got, 10, 20 clothes pegs sitting for about 10 minutes on a much more sensitive part of the body and hopefully a much sexier part of the body than just, the inside part of your hand. And I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm wounded. This is what I do for you. No, it didn't really hurt that much. But definitely, if you're a top and you haven't done this sort of thing before, test it out on yourself. Find out how it feels. Know how skin is going to react with, red marks and everything else. You could potentially end up with some bruising from these things. It's unlikely, but definitely possible. So that's it, guys. If you enjoy my kinky zipper tutorial, please make sure you give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more BDSM skills, BDSM basics, where we talk about how to do all kinds of different things within kink, and we'll talk about the basics of kink and what you need to know if you're looking at getting into BDSM. And of course, we'll be doing lots more kinky DIYs, so you can learn how to make all kinds of your own toys so that you don't have to go out and spend a fortune on, buying pre-made toys. You can create your own. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.